passage through the under. I clenched my jaw, my back teeth grinding together. I still felt the power trapped within me, the burning darkness that both thrilled and terrified me, but oddly, I also felt mostly the same. It wasn't what I'd expected after letting the blackness consume me. Not what I'd expected at all. I wet my lips. You're not wrong, but I do not seek safe passage only for me. Uncannily, her eyes zoomed toward Hook's and Crowley's prostrate forms behind me. I heard he'd come back. He always did have a knack for getting you in trouble. There was an underlying tinge of exasperation in her tone. I knew immediately who she was talking about. Anahita had never been a fan of Hook. She hated Lakers, him most of all. If there was one flaw in my favorite sister, it was her unshakable belief that all Lakers were wicked at their core. Curling her lip, she shook her head. Truth is, Ariel, I knew you were coming. We all did, the moment you stepped foot into the Never. I told you to stay away. I warned you. But would you ever listen to me? No, you stubborn, foolish, arrogant girl. Her words might have come off as cruel to others, but I heard the emotions behind them, the slight telltale quiver of pain threaded through them that only someone who'd known her as long as I had would ever hear. I frowned. Two things I knew at once. Where I'd been in the dark about my true origins, somehow Anahita had known. More than that, she'd known for a while. And two, something bad had happened. I swallowed hard, flaring my nostrils. What? I asked silently. She didn't need me to clarify. Anahita had always understood me in a way few others could have. There's been a death in our waters this night, Ariel. I covered my mouth with my hands, knowing before she ever said it. My middle sister had always been the type to find herself in the middle of trouble without even trying. She had a knack for it, in fact. Usually she found that trouble because of me. And this time would be no different. Squeezing my eyes shut, I whispered, Aquata. At Anahita's sharp intake of breath, I knew I'd guessed correctly. What happened? She was taking a midnight stroll, as was oft her way. She flicked her fingers with a faux dismissive gesture that I knew was anything but. Her laughter was tight and painful to hear. I opened my eyes and noted two quick silver tears sliding down Anahita's left cheek. Never saw the blast coming. The sea witch is surely back and driven by her vendetta against Father once again. I figured you'd be not too far behind, and my hunch was correct as ever. There was a hint of disappointment there, and I visibly cringed to hear it, feeling like that same little girl who never ceased to be an overwhelming disappointment to her family, no matter how hard she tried not to be. But you should know that Aquata was not our only casualty tonight, Ariel. Her words were soft but fraught with barely checked emotion. I blinked, going cold all over. Aquata was the sweetest, gentlest little hermit that had ever existed. She'd made even the hardest hearts like Father's, love her, simply because of how pure she'd been. Father, I said, already knowing by the visible look of weariness and pain shading Anahita's cobalt blue eyes. That's why you came to me then. Do you rule now? He is not dead, but he is gravely wounded and in a comatose state. Lethe is seeing to him now. Lethe was Father's personal doctor, and having him there must have meant that his injuries were bad indeed. He would have been so happy to see you, Ariel. I looked at her strangely, curling my nose. Right, I scoffed. Sure, the man who banished me and never looked back. Never. Say another word about him and I'll drown you myself. Her voice vibrated with fury and her look was sharp as a blade. I felt her anger on an almost visceral level. I swallowed hard. You know nothing, Ariel. That was always your problem, she snapped. You thought you did. You thought you knew it all. But you were a simple, foolish little girl then, and I see very little has changed. I shook with rage, feeling the stirrings of the darkness within me rise. But Anahita's eyes glittered with tendrils of her own electrified powers. They looked like jagged sparks of lightning rippling through the waters around her. She had truly become